Amina witnessed the death of her parents and the massacre of her village. Naturally, her biggest concern is for security for their lives. So long as there is the possibility of war, they have to live in fear of an attack on their village, as experienced by them before. Some new construction has taken place at Palliyagodelle, but it is insignificant in proportion to the infrastructural needs of the community. The village will never develop as it should, as long as many of its residents fear to return to it. In nearby Sungawila, the 8 families that decided to remain still feel the conditions are not right for them to go back to their own village without fear for their lives, however much they long to do so.
எங்களுக்கு பெஞ்சரிக்கத்தை விட அங்க இருந்தா தான் எங்களுக்கு நல்லம். எங்களுக்கு அங்க போயிருந்தா எங்களுக்கு பன் புடுங்கலும் பாய் பின்னலும் எங்களுக்கு கொல்லி எடுக்கலும் எங்களுக்கு மீன் பிடிக்கலும் எங்களுக்கு இங்க எந்த ஆதாரமும் இல்லை. எங்களுக்கு அங்க இருந்தா தான் எல்லா சுகாதாரம் எல்லா ஆதாரமும் எங்களுக்கு அங்கதான் இருக்கணும். எங்களுக்கு நல்ல சமாதானப்படுத்தி நல்ல ஊரை நல்ல பிரச்சனைக்கு உட்படாமல் இருக்கு. நாங்க பிரச்சனையில பட்டு எங்களோட புள்ள மோசம் போயிருக்கு, பிரிச்சம் மோசம் போயிருக்கு.
As residents of border villages, they have had to pay a higher price for the war. These villages are their homes, where their resources are, and so they are the constant victims of the ongoing war. In the north and east of Sri Lanka, displacement has changed people's lives in many ways. Sometimes it involved a single journey. For others, it was a recurring phenomenon requiring multiple trips. The distance they traveled to reach a safe haven may have ranged from a few kilometers to more than 100. During 2 decades of conflict, nearly 1 million people were affected by internal displacement. War dealt a double blow to many women of these communities, when it forced them to flee their homes and took away their men. It has compelled them to play bigger and different roles in rebuilding their lives and household economies.
There was a time when we were looking at the women in conflict situations. We tried to refrain from using the terminology victims with regard to these women. We didn't want to use the word and explain their life experience as something of victimhood. We thought of reviving a more positive role for these women by saying that there has been an agency for these women and they have been empowered because they played a particular role in their societies. They've been able to come out of their homes. They've been able to negotiate with the international agencies to get their whatever rations, or at the campsites we've seen these women organizing themselves. More and more their burden have increased. Even though we try to see an agency, a more positive role, I see them playing the gendered role. They are now placed with having to look after the children, having to look for assistance from the government to revive back the family. Now, where the single women are concerned, they have no husband, so therefore they have to now see to it that their children are married off, houses are rebuilt, compensation received. So it has not changed their roles. They are playing double role, the role of the husband as well as the role of the wife.
From an earthquake near the seas of the Sumatra Islands of Indonesia had a category දකුණු වෙරළබඩ ප්‍රදේශවලට විශාල වශයෙන් හානි වෙඩිත සුනාමියානද ඉලංගයින් වඩக்கு கிழக்கு தெற்கு பகுதிகளை பாதித்ததோடு
The tsunami of December 2004 struck Sri Lanka at a particularly unfortunate time. The country was still bearing the consequences of years of conflict, especially mass displacement. Now, those who had been displaced many times in the past due to conflict were homeless once again. Rajeshwari is one such person. The house she had finally managed to construct near the coast in Kalladi in Batticaloa was reduced to rubble.
ඇත්තට මම ඉපදිච්ච කාලේ නම් මං තා සතුටින් ඉඳපු දවසක් මන් දන්නේ. මම අය කතා දැනිච්ච දවසේ නම් මං දුක් විඳමම ඉන්නේ. ඇත්තට මං කාටවත් කිසිම වැරද්දක් කරන්න කැමති නෑ. කාගේ දුකක් මගේ දුකක් කියලා හිතන්නේ මම. ඇයි මට මේ විදිහට වෙන්නේ කියලා මං සමහරක් වෙලාවට. ඇත්තට මගේ ජීවිතේම එපා වෙලා ඉන්නේ දුවෙක් ඉන්නවා. ඒ දුව වෙනුවෙන් ජීවත් වෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා මං තාම මේ වෙනතුරු ඉතාලගෙන ඉන්නේ.
A resident of Batticaloa since her childhood, Rajeshwari's entire life has been influenced by war and ethnic conflict. Ever since her first encounter with displacement in the 1970s, when she and her family fled the riots in Colombo, she continued to face life as a refugee, moving from one place to another on at least 7 different occasions, including the riots of July 1983.
අපි ගෙවල් දොරවල් ඔක්කොම නැති වුණාට පස්සේ අපි හින්දු කොලේජ් බම්බල පිටින් හින්දු කොලේජ් එකේ තමයි අපි ඔක්කොම ගිහින් තිබ්බේ. ඒ වෙලාව අපිට සිංහල කට්ටිය උඟක් උදව් කරා. යාළපාල සිංහල මුස්ලිම් කට්ටිය අතට හොඳටම උදව් කරා අපිට. උදව් කරාට පස්සේ අපි ඉතලා ගෙවල් නැතුව ඉඳලා මොනා කරන්නද? ආපහු මඩ කරපුවා.
In the years that followed, Rajeshwari experienced the worst of war in a part of the country that was particularly vulnerable to conflict due to its multi-ethnic population. During clashes between ethnic groups, political groups, the armed forces and the LTTE, Rajeshwari and her sisters all lost their husbands at the hands of one or another of the groups.
අපි උණති මුනේ නාමලගේ දට ආවා. මේට ආවා මේ කැම්ප් එක ගන්නවා. එතකොට එදා LTTE කැම්ප් එක හරියෙන් ඒගොල්ලන් දෙන්න දැන් සටන් කරනවා. ඊට පස්සේ අපිට කිව්වා මේ ඉන්න එපා ඔයගොල්ලෝ කොහේ හරි යන්න. අපි ඔක්කොම ආයෙ වැඩ කරපු දිව සංස්ථාවට ගියා. දිව සංස්ථාවට ගියාම දැන් 10 වෙනිදා අපි ගියේ 11 වෙනිදා ගියේ 12 13 14 15 16 වෙනිදා 18 වෙනිදා දෙකට විතර දුවේ පිටි එයා කිරිපිටිනේ බොන්නේ. කිරිපිටි ඉවර වුණාම එයාගෙන් කිරිපිටි අරන් එන්නම් කියලා ගියා. ගේ මිනිස්සු තමයි ගෙනිච්චේ. අරසලි අන්දියේදී ගෙනිච්චේ යාව. ඊට පස්සෙත් මම යෑම කැම්ප් යම ඔයලා ඇත්තට මගේ ශක්තිය තරමටම හොඳට එව්වා. පස්සේ 94 කැම්ප් එක වැව්වා. කැම්ප් එක වැව්වට පස්සේ අපි වාලයිට මේ නාමලඩි කියන තැනේ මුදුයින ගෙනල්ලා ලොකු අඩයක් ගාලා ඒක ඇවිල්ලා රුපියල් 2000 දුන්නා එක්කෙනෙකුට. ඊට පස්සේ මම බැලුවා මේ ඇවිල්ලා මඩවල පෑවිල්ලා රැකියාවක් නැතුව ඉන්නත් බෑනේ.
Rajeshwari tried her hand at various ways of earning an income, eventually becoming a hospital attendant. Alone and with a young daughter to bring up, she knew that she now had to work towards finding a place of her own.
ඒගොල්ලන් කියලා මේ ඉඩම ගත්තා. මේ ඉඩම අරගෙන බුද්ධි ඩිපාර්ට්මන්ට් එකේ මම කළාට හවුසින් ඩිපාර්ට්මන්ට් එකේ මම ලෝන් එකක් ගත්තා. 25000. අරගෙන තමයි අතිවාරම දැම්මේ. අතිවාරම මගේ අතිබේති කොහොම රෝග කරලා මම අතිවාරම දැම්මා. මම සීට්ටුවකුත් දැම්මා. සීට්ටුව දාලා තමයි බාලේ ඇදුවේ. 85000ක් ඉවර වුණා බාලේට විතරක් මට. ඊට පස්සේ ඒ සීට්ටුව හැලි ඔක්කොම ගෙවාගෙන ඉන්නකොට තමයි තව සීට්ටුවක් මම ඇල්ලුවා. තව සීට්ටුවක් අල්ලලා තමයි දොර ජනේලේ ඔක්කොම කපලා කරේ. ඔක්කොම වැඩ ඔක්කොම ඉවර කරා. ඉවර කරලා ඊට මට සීට්ටුවක් මම එක සීට්ටුවක් ඉවරෙන් තව සීට්ටුවක් කොහමද මාස 3 අල්ලනවා.
Rajeshwari's first experience of displacement had been due to the cyclone that struck the Batticaloa district in 1978. It was another natural disaster the tsunami of 2004 that destroyed the home she had finally built.
ඇත්තට හරියට මාන්සේලා මම අත මගේ දාඩිය වලින් මම ඇදුවේ නෑ ඒගේ. ඒතර මගේ ලේ වලින් ඇදපු ගයක් ඒක. මට දුක ඒක මම මගේ දරුවෙක්ව අදන විදිහට මම ඒගේ ඇදුවේ. දවසක් හරි මගේ ගෙදර මට ඉන්න හම්බුන්නේ නෑ.
A year after the tsunami, Rajeshwari and the rest of the community that had occupied homes near Kalladi in Patiklo had been moved to 3 temporary locations, ending up at Traimadu, a barren and harsh environment.